Welcome to the HRM Chapter. Tonight we have Lori, who I'm going to introduce in just a minute. I have a few housekeeping things. We do have evaluations, and I'm going to hand those out to the people that are here in the room. But also it's important for anyone online to comment on your computer. Just how you felt, if you got anything out of the meeting at the topic tonight. I'll introduce, we have Lori Edgar, who is the Director of Operations for Affirmative Ventures, and Lori believes a home, a job, and a friend equates to living a happy life. As such, her mandate with Affirmative Ventures is to make available employment training and safe, affordable housing to the clientele, while providing the opportunity to network and develop long-term relationships. So I'll turn this over to Lori just after I introduce myself as Donna Mehta, Chair of the meeting. Come on in. We're just getting started. Okay, so Lori, we'll turn it over to you. Thanks.
Thanks, Donna. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lori Edgar, and I work with Affirmative Ventures. And Affirmative Ventures, this is our mission: a home, a job, a friend. Affirmative Ventures is an nonprofit organization that started 24 years ago. And I'm a storyteller, so sometimes I have to go back to know where we're at. Because sometimes people say, well, how did you get there, and why do you do it this way? It's almost like this is why, because this is where we started. So 24 years ago, there was a psychologist at the Nova Scotia Hospital, Dr. Norman Greenberg, and he thought at that time the people that were in the hospital needed to get off the unit to learn work skills, to put their jacket on and go to another building. So at that time, that's when Pet Stuff on the Go started on the Nova Scotia Hospital grounds. And we did cat furniture, packaging. That's how we started. And that's when I was hired at that time. I sucked at cat furniture, and so did everybody else. It was a very hard eye-hand coordination. It's very difficult. So over the time, we had to tweak our business and look at what we did. So we did start with Pet Stuff on the Go, and Pet Stuff on the Go moved into common values, and now we have more convenience.
Oh.
So right now, we operate 2 employment training platforms. And we have Affirmative House, which is a unique housing project that helps people build equity, and I can get into that. And also the newest that we've just done the last year, which is a Caldy Grange model, which is copied after a very successful model in Montreal. So we're trying to follow, they gave us everything to do it. So now we're trying to follow and learn from them, since they already paved the way for us. So one of the things about our 2 employment training platforms is that, so to start out with, is what we do is we have 2, we call the Way to Work. It's called the Way to Work Employment Training Business. Yeah. And our motto, that's one thing, my slogan always, when we first started out, is helping people work makes a difference. So one thing about it, so people come and say, what's your 12-week program about? I want a job, Lori. I haven't worked, so it could be for people who want to work, haven't worked in a while, maybe been in the hospital, maybe this is their first time. They're not really sure what to expect from employment. So they come to our 12-week employment program. And what happens in that is that we're helping people take that first step into employment, 1 step at a time. 1 step at a time, doing it slowly, not going into a full-time job, doing it slowly. So what they do in our workshops is that they come into our workshops, and they come 2 days a week to workshops, and then you also work in our businesses. So for those 12 weeks, you're making a commitment for 2 workshops a week, 1 to 2 workshops a week, and also work in our business. Really what we're doing is helping people gain those basic employability skills that people need to move on in their job. So one of the things that we do in our workshop, okay, Donna, one of the things that we do, the next one, that we do in our workshop is that I find that difficult unless I'm hitting it, so I'm just going to chat.
Just a minute. You know what? I think you can do that yourself. Almost.
Okay.
There's, oh, yeah, hang on. Yeah, you can't do that. I didn't think it would reach, but I can get this out of the bag.
Sorry about this.
Okay.
I live this every day, so I have to go through steps. Sometimes people lose me. Okay. So one of the things that's very important, because sometimes I have parents come in, and then I have people who are looking for work, and they say, Lori, I want a job. And that has been my history of helping people find work. I was a job developer. So I've been doing this work for 30 years. It's not something that I chose to do, it was something that chose me. And so helping people start from being unemployed to employed, that's what my passion is all about. So we just use our businesses, that's why they're there. Our non-profit employment training businesses is the vehicle and the tool that we use to do our work. But really, the product is the people that we serve. That's what it's really all about. So people come in and they say, okay, I want a job, and where do I start? So we start with workshops. If we haven't worked for a while, we need a place to get started. We need a place to know, what do I want? How many hours a week can I work? Am I a morning person, an afternoon person? What kind of attitude do I have towards work? Do I really want to work? How's your work routine going to change now compared to when you're not working? So all the things that we're faced with all at once, you're faced with during that 12 weeks, and you're starting to process how your life is changing. So one of the things that we do in our workshops is really look at presenting a professional image. How will your work change? How will work change your daily routine? Sometimes we don't ask ourselves that, because sometimes all of a sudden you're getting up and you're going to work, you realize you're not going to bed early enough, you realize that there's other things that you have to give up, maybe it's some sports activities, or how do you blend the two? And that's what comes. Or maybe you always do your laundry on Thursday, but you work on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, and your uniform's not clean. So we look at those things. We really look at, what are you all about? What do you have to bring to the table to the employer? What employability skills you have? And we really look at attitude towards work. I spend a lot of time, and how do you find that passion for your work? Every single job that we all have, whether it's an entry-level job or it's our dream job, you still need those basic employability skills. That's what we all need that enhances us in the employment. But we really look about what is the employer and the employee relationship. I find that's a big one. Sometimes when a lot of people come in, they really look at the employer here and us here as the employee. But it's never that way. It has to be that teeter-totter, it's equal. And it's really coming to grips with, what is that about? What does that mean? All of a sudden, there's different responsibilities for me as an employee, if I feel that way, and different responsibilities as the employer. We talk about even meeting new people. Even that's a new change. What about dealing with the change that you're just going through? We look at preparing for the interview. I'm trying to think of one we did today. We did a workshop today, adapting to workplace culture. Every workplace has different cultures, so we talk about that. The one I did on Saturday was 10 tips to take with you to your new job. We assume that people have these skills. We assume that people know this. And maybe they do, maybe they forgot. Maybe they've never had a job, so aren't even aware of that. I think the employment training has changed a lot in 30 years when I first started. I think people came in, they wanted a job, and when we helped them, and they went out and got a job. I think over the years now, even today, I'm working with a lot of young people. A lot of young people don't have the basic life habits that they used to have. And I have experience, even with my own children at home, so I know this. When I grew up, I had chores. We had responsibilities. We had to learn to catch the bus. There were due dates on our books. All those things that's taken away from us now. Like I asked everybody in the group today, I said, how many people here have cell phones? Every one of them, there's 12 in the group. They're all young people. The group I did today was all young people. They all have cell phones. I asked every one of them, how much do you pay for your cell phone a month? And not one person knew. So that's it. So I'm looking, have any of you ever seen a phone bill? Not one person has. So I'm thinking, and these are people in your 20s. These are people who are going to be leaving the home, or maybe not, because that's probably not part of the conversation. So we're even going back to more of the basics. We have people who are learning to clean, like we have cleaning at work, and they don't want to clean, but I don't blame them. The cleaning that you do at our work, that's the tool that we're using, that you learn the basic work skills and habits. They don't know how to hold a broom. They don't know how to empty a garbage can, how to put a bag in. because
Is it because their parents have done everything?
yes.
for
So
them?
it's not about your mental health. It's got to do with how the generations have changed. So that's another thing that we've had to incorporate into our training that we didn't do before. At least people came with those basics.
But Lori, I
Interesting.
found, like, my daughter had some of that.
Yes.
Some of that basic,
Yeah.
you know, cleaning your room, putting your, you know, sweeping, you know, help with
Yeah.
the dishes, sweeping and all that. But she.
And lost some.
And she
skills.
lost
Absolutely.
she wouldn't
Yeah.
know where to start with the broom.
Yes, that's true too. That
You know,
is true.
she
Yes,
needed
many
help.
times.
Folding the clothes.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so it's
Yeah.
probably a little bit of both.
Yes, yeah. So we really look at, too, what it means when you're gonna start earning a paycheck. We look at calming new employee jitters, because no matter how much we want a job, we're all nervous. So either we're too confident and a little bit cocky, or we're just plain nervous. So we really look at how to balance that out. Demonstrating manners in the workplace is a major one. You wouldn't think that we would spend many, many times discussing that. Do you know that I have a lot of people who come to work who do not say hello? They do not say goodbye, and they don't think that they have to. And I know life is about choice, and I can remember about 10 years ago, there was a girl I worked with. This was a learning for me, and her parents also said it's her choice if she wants to say hello. It's her choice if she wants to say goodbye. Okay, so I'm a little bit, no, you're right, it's about choice, and I agree with you. Maybe I'm expecting too much. So she went to get a job. Well, I guess the employer didn't think it was about choice because she lasted on the job 2 weeks, and that really affected her confidence, really affected how she felt about herself, it really affected her mental health. All because I didn't expect her to say hello. So if she would have learned that with us, it would have been easier. Her work, there was no problem with her work. The employer said, I found it offensive to come to work every morning and say hello to somebody who wouldn't say hello back.
Oh.
So we,
Oh, she wouldn't even do that. That's pretty bad.
that's what, well, if I say, good morning, Donna, and you don't look at me and speak. This is common in our workplace today.
Oh my.
It's common in our workplace. So we're talking about, and again, I work with a lot of families who want their son or daughters to go into the community and get a job and a paid job. But there is requirements and expectations. And it's called manners.
Yes.
It's manners.
I could see that though with my son or
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Depending on how he's feeling.
Yeah.
He may answer back or
Yeah.
might not.
But we have to.
Dedication.
Yeah.
How tired he is.
But we work with people through that. It doesn't matter how you feel, doesn't matter anything. You have to do it even if you don't feel it. Because they're coming to
Just
work and they're still,
expected.
yeah, just, it's expected. Just like you have to, we have people come to work and don't want to wear the uniform, we have aprons because they don't like it. It's one of those just grocer aprons you tie. But this is expectations. And so again, if we give choices, I don't want to do it, then what's going to happen when you go to get the job?
Mm.
So we talk about, again, adapting to workplace culture and how that's, so we have over like 300 workshops that we do, and it's usually the people who come in that determines what workshops we're going to do. Because you pick up right away where people, from you know, just listening to what people need. So it could change in a 12-week program, we have 12 different workshops. So
Just
once
suited to
you know
the
right away.
needs of that group.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I have a group now that's all young, just out of high school, right? So the group that's coming in, they're all in their 30s. So most of them have already had a job before, so it's a little bit different. This younger group's never had a job, so it's just the basics. So depending, you have to really be able to read your group very quickly. So that's an example of what we do. And again, the training that we do though is through Mort's Convenience, and that's in a seniors building at Alderley Manor. So we have people who come through our training, then they go on here for training also, more independent training. So a lot of people come in too and they say, I don't want to learn cash, I'm never going to be a cashier. Fine, that's great. You're not here just to learn cash, you're here to learn those basic work skills and work habits that you will take with you anywhere, like coming to work on time, filling out a timesheet, how to communicate with your supervisor, with your coworkers, inventory. And the other one is pet stuff and common values, and we have them put together now. They're together on Main Street in Dartmouth. Did anybody here live in Dartmouth? Yeah, so we're between, the Legion, beside the Legion. So again, so our business, we have to break even in our business. So people have to show up for work. They have to make sure they do the job tasks that are assigned. You know, they have to order product. But all the work that is done in our business is done by the employees in training. it's not like a make work project. It has to, we had a person who didn't show up yesterday. And I got a call at home to come in and cover the shift because 2 people didn't come in. Because they don't think they should have to work Sunday. So it's a learning for me too, to know who's open to that. So again, they're doing merchandising and pricing. We have a delivery service. We've been doing that for 20 plus years. We deliver pet food to people's homes 2 days a week. We have pets in our store. Pets, these are the 2 dogs that are in our store every single day. So that's, the dogs in your workplace, it changes your work environment. Even if you don't like dogs, that really changes your work environment. It's been a positive thing. Again, merchandising, we have product that we sell for entrepreneurs who make products. There's our groomer. We have a groomer in the basement. Again, out in deliveries. Taking an order, so all our orders are done on the computer, so the employees have to get those ready. I hit the wrong button. Yeah. And one of the things we talk about, when you're there, your ladder of success. And this is a saying from a young man who worked with us, his very first job. You can't climb the ladder of success with your hands in your pocket. And so that just becomes a saying at work all the time. So when we have our ladder of success, this is what people are working on. So every single person at work, they're working on something. For the first 12 weeks, then we have an assessment. If we feel at that time, and you feel at that time, that you're ready for community employment, then we move on to community employment. But if not, we really look at your areas of development. We want to make sure that when you move to that phase, when you're job ready, that you're not going to lose it. And we have a 97% job maintenance success rate. That's very high. That's very high. So we have a job developer and a job coach who goes to the community with that person. And they do that job with the person until they're doing it on their own at 100%. And at any point, if there's a change in the job, maybe the person might be going through something, we go in and we support that person. So we have a high success rate. But it's not done overnight either. It usually takes people 8 to 12 months to be job ready. And there's our store on Main Street. There. And so we have maybe I'll get into it in our housing because
Whereabouts on Main is that?
right across from McDonald's. It used to be the Popeyes building.
Oh, okay.
It's right towards stairs, and and the Legion is beside us, and we're right between. It used to be
In Dartmouth?
Yes, on Main Street. Yeah. You probably drive by it every day.
Oh, yeah, I probably do.
Yeah. If you ever go to McDonald's lights, look up. Remember the fish man? He's always usually
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Right across. You can see the fish man.
Okay.
So what happened in this? We were always on Pleasant Street. When we left the Nova Scotia Hospital, we moved to a place on Pleasant Street, which we loved and we enjoyed, and we moved out of there March 31st due to finances. The other thing that happened is we moved into this building because we own the building. It was never intended when we bought it that we would be moving into it for a retail space, because at that time, when we bought the building, a vitamin store, Popeyes, owned it. And then, of course, they sold their business. So now we're kind of stuck between, do we rent it, or do we move into it ourselves and pay our own mortgage? Because there's an empty spot right beside it, and that's where we're building housing. So we have the land for sale at that time. We moved a year ago. Anyways, it's making those business decisions. Do we still try to rent it for a year, or do we just move in? I was very skeptical when we moved in. We have to leave Pleasant Street, and that was March 31st. That was difficult. And then the September before that, we moved from Halifax. We were in the north end of Halifax for 10 years at a dollar store on Nova Lee. Very successful dollar store. And we were asked to leave. Again, it's business, because the liquor store was moving into that little Nova Lee center. And when little nonprofit liquor store, so we had to leave. So we ended up moving to Kennard overnight, no thinking, and we lost our shirt on that. So again, as a social enterprise, you still have to balance your training, but you also have to have a business, because nobody's coming along and saying, here's some money to run your business, because what great work you're doing. Doesn't work like that. So this is where we're at now. I can hardly wait till the day we move into that new building, and I swear it'll be the day I retire, I betcha. And then someone else will get all the new stuff. But that's life, and that's growth and progress. So this is where we are now. But again, work is not all work and no play. That is one of the things that I like about going to work. You get to meet some really neat people at any place. I took a lot of my pictures out. But we do have a lot of, like, we have social activities, and we go out into the community and we do stuff just like we would at any workplace. We have parties, we go play pool, we go to the Moosehead hockey games. It's just like any workplace that you would have, we do it also. Okay, so now that's our employment. So that's how we get started. So that was the employment piece. So then about 10 years ago, I had 3 people in January. It was this time of year came in and their rent was going up. And most of them were going up between $5 and $15. Well, $5.15 is a lot when you're on income assistance. And they were panic mode. And I knew at that time we couldn't save the world, but if I could help just the people that we were working with at that time. But at that time, we were only working with like 30 people a year, and most of them lived at home. So I went to our board and I said, what if we got a building that we could afford, and we can put pet stuff on the bottom and just a couple apartments above? So they moved forward with that. I didn't get that. I still don't have a business on the bottom and an apartment above. But we got this instead. So this building just happens to be on Lake Crest, which is behind the main. So I walk over here every day from the path. You can see in the front of the grass there, you can see my little path, which is probably not good for the landscapers. But I'm over there all the time. So this is a 10-unit building that we have right now. And there's 9 guys in it and 1 gal. So the people that come in to live in here, they live here for a maximum of 5 years. That is how the agreement that we had with our mortgage, they would live there for 5 years. And they contribute to a tenant savings plan. They contribute amount, we contribute amount, Affirmative Ventures, and community services. At the end of the 5 years when they move out, they have $6,000. And we have one person who just moved out and put that money towards a car. The person before him, they put it towards community college, his debt at community college. So one of the things though when you're living here, you have to be able to live independently, but with support. So what we do, I work closely with the nurse through CDHA. And her and I work together with the tenants to make sure the tenants have goals. We have, make sure they have tenant savings plans and make sure that they have the skills to pay the bills. We call that financial literacy. We really spend a lot of time, we bring in the police officer to look at, you know, what goes on in your community, how to be safe. We look at cooking. I'm trying to think, but we look at how to be a good tenant. What is your responsibilities as a tenant? Because that's one thing I hear a lot of. And there's no apartments, there's no apartments, there's no apartments, there's no apartments. There's no housing, there's no housing, there's no housing. But there is housing sometimes, but you have to be a good tenant. There's a responsibility as a tenant. There's rules as a tenant. You have to pay your bills. You can't paint the walls lime green. You can't leave. You can't smoke in a building when it's a non-smoking building. You can't have animals or pets in a building when it's pet-free. Those are some things we had to come up against. So we really look at what it means to be a good tenant. So we have 8 1-bedroom and 2 2-bedrooms in there. So they have a backyard and they have a garden there. This is a common room that we have off the laundry room. So this is where we usually meet and have our meetings, or the guys come down and they play poker. Now they're getting a ping pong table because it's winter, because they play basketball all summer in the parking lot. So the guys in the building have built their own little community. This is one of the 1-bedroom apartments here. They're all bright colors.
Are the people all basically the same age, around the same ages?
That's interesting because we do work with young people, right? So we have people in there, yeah, 20 to 50. We have probably the oldest in there right now, and who already lived in the neighborhood before. And that's where, yeah. It's kind of a role model for people there, peer support. So that's our place on Lake Crest. So from that, we will continue this here with this model. One of the things we built, we get a lot of backlash from the community because you have 10 people with mental health in one building, and by golly, that's not good practice, right? To have that, the stigma, all that. So this is something we talk about. When are we going to change this? So we have to keep it the same for 15 years. We're into year 10 now. So I asked the people there, and they're like, well, who says that? And I said, but it's not best practice. It's just not good. You should have a mixed apartment. When you hear it from their perspective, I'm going to listen to what they said. They said, this is our family. These are my brothers now. These are people. It's who. So I just kind of, sometimes I feel like, you know what? I don't know if we can ever do it right. No matter if you do this over here, someone's not gonna like it and has something to say. If you do this over here, somebody's not gonna like it. So I just think we're just gonna do it. All we are, I always thought, is even from our board of directors, from our frontline staff, from the employees we serve, all we are is a group of people who want to be happy in our lives, and we all want to move our lives forward. And we're just doing this together. We could be completely messed up. I never thought we were gonna be where we are today. 20 years ago. Maybe I thought we were going to be further. Maybe I don't know. I just know that we continue to increase the numbers of people that we serve every year. And the people that we serve can be our own brothers and our sisters and our wives and our husbands and our fathers and our uncles. So every time when somebody comes through that door and they want to move their life forward, I get pretty excited. Because with that though, could be 2 steps ahead, 5 back, 3 to the left and 2 to the right. But who cares at the end if you move your life still forward? And I think that's where, when I started blending housing and employment, I've seen so much enrichment. It's more so than employment. I was scared when we first started doing housing. I didn't ever know about housing. I knew a lot about employment and how to get somebody employed. And also, if they lost their employment, they still didn't lose their bed that night where they could rest their head. With housing, I'm like, oh dear, if you have to let somebody go, where are they going to live? I was scared, I have to admit. It took me, so that's when I worked with the housing person from CDHA, and we run the program, and how we treat it is identical. Employment's treated the same way as housing. There's responsibilities that go with it. You know that what they are. If you don't follow through, then it's not my issue. It's where you're at in your life. But again, with that said, we work with the families, we work with their clinicians, before we get to that point. Same thing as employment, right? If you got 18% attendance after 8 months, that tells me, hey, you're not ready for work, right?
What are the, not necessarily the profile of a typical person you work with, but maybe a profile, but do you have sort of requisites that the person has to meet as far as the
what we did,
diagnosis or anything like that?
you have to have persistent mental health.
Okay.
So it has to be persistent. And you have to have a clinical team that you work with that come in. That's be one of the main things that we do.
Right.
One of the things is I work with, we work now with another agency in the city, ILNS, and they're not completely mental health. So we've had to open it a little bit to cross disabilities. But our main focus is mental health.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Now, what about if they go off their meds?
What if they go off their, well, see, every person that we work with in employment and housing, we work closely with their team and their families. You would not be able to live there. But again, you would have to make sure you got back on them. Those are things that we've encountered. People have left. Haven't had a lot of people who leave. We had people who don't believe in medications, right? They're going to do it another way, and that's great. But they made that decision once they already got in. And they deteriorated so bad that they ended up in the hospital. So there was no choice for us, you know. That's, yeah, you have to be on your meds, and you have to be on your meds when you come to work too. And we have this contract that if we see that you're not, or if we see that you're drinking or behaving in a manner that's not good for your health, then they give us the okay that we can let their clinicians know. And it has never been an issue for me in 23 years. Because we're very upfront. This is the contract, this is what we can give, this is what you need to give. So yeah, it hasn't been. And people have stayed healthy, and of our building, only one person has gone to the hospital because they thought they could try a different method for meds. So our newest model that we have, a board member has brought it to our attention, and it's called the Caldy Grange model. I am so excited about this model because we've had people who, that's the name of the housing. We had people that came to Affirmative House, and remember, Affirmative House, we can only work with 10 people at a time. And if you're there for 5 years, what are we going to do for the other people on the waiting list? But this is a model that is good for people who may go into Affirmative House or who may go into independent housing. So it might be good for someone who's leaving the hospital, maybe doesn't like to live by themselves, not sure. So it's a model where we have 3 people living together. Could be 3 males or it could be mixed. Could be a girl and 2 guys. And the support that they get is based on volunteer and peer support in the community. And that's fairly new. We have 2 homes right now. So under the model in Montreal, they open 1 house a year. And they, I think, have 30 houses now, which is quite a bit. But I think because of our experience and our foundation, we could do more than that. My goal is 5 a year.
So what do they do after the 5th year?
No. Caldy Grange is long-term.
Oh.
Affirmative House is 5 years. Affirmative House is 5 years, that model, yeah. And they have to move on. They have to move on at 5
But
years.
they could move on to this if they.
No, this is 3 people in an apartment.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is almost like a step before going there. So yeah, people when they come into there are people maybe who come into, actually we should go back. So Affirmative House, there are people who are unemployed, but it's for young people. So you have to go to work or go to school. So during that 5 years, you have to have a plan. You're moving your life forward. So just like anybody, you're getting a lot of support in that 5 years to become more independent. But at the end of the 5 years, you will move on. Oh, I know, it's something I dread. With that said, we have beside our store we have land, and the land is for sale, and we have a purchase and sales agreement for that land. For that, they're gonna build an apartment, and we're gonna get 6 apartments out of there that are affordable. So we're looking at, some of the people may go into there because they're already asking for it. One of the things I've started to work on, what about people now, when they leave there, they have a job, they've gone to school, but at least they're working. What about helping them get a mortgage and have their own house? So there's a lot, so we're just, I think, just beginning to tap into housing for people.
Because
In a
there's
different-
different needs.
That's what we're, yes.
Because even, we've just experienced a couple things that there's one guy living way over in Dartmouth, and another guy living over there, and they're friends, but they're living in 2 separate worlds, and they couldn't come together. And they're, they could come together,
Yes.
and at least at this time, they could get together, sort of idea.
Absolutely,
And that's where Caldy would
that's what
come
we
in.
love about
That's where
Caldy.
Caldy would come in.
Yeah.
Share an apartment, that's what it's all about. You get a lot of
Yeah.
support.
Yeah, it's interesting, you see the growth when they move into Caldy because they're not so isolated anymore, and they're coming together for a meal in the evening, you have someone to watch. I just popped in at the one in Dartmouth just on Saturday on my way home from work, and they were all making pizza, 4 o'clock, in their pajamas. I wanted to be there. I'm like, really, I'm just heading home to put my pajamas on, but they are.
Talk about the support that they
Yeah.
get.
So the support at Caldy, like I said, it's based on the community. It's volunteer support, and where we're going for support is through the churches. It's faith-based, and you only have to contribute a little bit. It could be as little as 6 hours a month, 6 hours a year. It could be one of the models here. I did a very similar Caldy Grange model with my daughter who lives in a group home. But before that, I built a network around her. And I looked at who's going to be in her life when I'm not here. Even if she's living in a group home that's paid staff, what am I going to do? And I had a blast doing hers. And it was interesting because some people think you have to volunteer a lot to help somebody along. So for example, she has friends who they take her fishing 1 weekend a year. That's their commitment. It's 1 weekend a year that she goes fishing. And she's been doing it for years, and every year she does it. So for them being volunteers, that's what but now we have I bring people in and we have potlucks, so they still come to those. Because you'll find that your volunteers become part of your own life, right? Become part of your own family. She has one person, a gal, who goes to concerts with her. They go probably only 3 concerts a year, and they go for supper. So that's that commitment. So it's not, and they don't have much, I mean, they chat, we see each other at Christmas and their birthdays, but it's not like an everyday, hey, how you going? But there's a concert in town, usually it's about 3, maximum 3 to 4 a year, and they meet up and they go supper, and that's their own little thing. There's some that there's more, but there's some that are just, so I think the Caldy is going to, I hope that it develops, and it's the same way. You're gonna have some people who are going in to help cook. Could be someone who's helping cooking, it could be a hobby that you have. We have a volunteer now who takes the group from Dartmouth, who takes them up to Gateway to get their groceries and their meat. He does that with them. He takes them to pick up their medication at the drugstore. So that's his commitment. He checks in all the time. So every person will have a different need. We have one young guy in Dartmouth he's not from Dartmouth, he doesn't have any family and not a lot of friends. So he will probably be looking for someone to go out and do things with. So it's a little bit different. So we have to know who's in there and what they want. And then we'll build a team around them, a community support team. But I know that when I did it with my daughter, so now she just moved into a group home, and I'm telling you, I have to almost book an appointment with her because she's too busy. Like, we used to get calls constantly. Now 3 days, I'm calling up and talking to the support staff, like, is she okay? Like, we haven't, no, she's fine, she's busy.
So how is the group home working out?
For my daughter,
Yeah.
it's working out. Let's say she had lived in an alternative family. She lived with a family. So my daughter is intellectual disability though. And this one here, she lives with 2 young girls, and she only moved in at the 1st of November, and it surpassed what we ever would have expected. And it's only 3 kilometers from her house. So it's still in her neighborhood, you know, she's close to people, it's all, but with her, we made sure she was well connected at a young age. So she's out almost every night of the week. She's very social, she's very active. What she's brought to the house is some of that energy and active, where her roommates now are gonna sign up and go to yoga, right? And go to bowling, and go swimming, and go curling, snowshoeing, she does very, very active. So she's brought an energy into the house that they like, and she's getting some of them out who never go out. So it's worked out, you know, both ways, and I hope that will be the same way. And they really like that we had a support network around her. So there's a lot of activity in the house now, and they like that. So we're hoping that we can build that around the other 2. And same thing is what we're gonna do at the Caldy Grange. Because we have to look at models, and I always look as a parent, we always worry about what's gonna happen when we don't have the health to do it, or we're tired, or we wanna go on a trip. And I wanna, you know, you don't have to worry about home. You don't have to worry. You wanna make sure the person that you love is taken care of. So we're hoping that Caldy will go into that model.
So she's in a group home,
Yeah.
so is that run by,
It's an organization, it's run by an organization.
what's the name of the
I'd
organization?
rather not say.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they're very private.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
all right. It's more private than
Yeah.
well-trained staff, I take it?
All young, very
Good-
energetic.
Good attitudes?
Like I said, I cried when I left. I cried when I left.
Yeah.
Because we're looking at, how do we do this at Affirmative House? How do we have something for people, because I'm working with some people now who will need more direct support in a house, maybe where a person stays there and lives there. It's funny, when I go home, I thought we could, you know, we got our handle on it. I feel pretty confident about that. They would give me a run for my money. I thought if I could only be at that level. So now I have a model that I can, I can't even explain what it's like. If anybody told me this would be like, I never, yeah. But with that said, I have a very easy daughter too. Like very outgoing, so it's, yeah. But it's only been a couple of months, and they say maybe 6-month mark, the shoe could drop, right?
So is it privately funded or funded by the government?
For them, yeah.
It's privately funded.
No.
By the government?
Federal government. But there's lots of group homes out there. But I think that's something that after Caldy Grange, we may get into that. Because I'm working with a couple of guys right now, and I'm thinking, now, and they're not in good places, And I thought, if we could get a live-in, someone to live in, how would that be? How could we do that? So I think that's what we're probably going to be looking at, buying houses, and how do we do that? That's going to be, while we do the Caldy Grange.
That's like small options today.
Yeah.
You have to have the right workers
Yeah,
for
But you have
small
to have the
options.
right-
That's the problem.
But you have to have the right workers no matter what you do. You have to have the
Yeah.
right clinicians. You have to be the right person yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So it's very, it's, because even to do this work, it's difficult.
so do they, in your daughter's case, are these people that work with her, are they trained?
Yes.
They're trained and they're paid?
On one side of it, it's a duplex. On one side of it, it's working with people who have mental health. On the other side, it's intellectual disability. Yeah. It can be done. There's models out there.
And is there a connection between the 2? Is it open between the 2 houses, or do they go around?
Oh, no, they go in between.
That's what I saw, that was done a long time ago.
And the staff kind of go back and
Yes,
forth. I mean, I called my daughter on New Year's. She wanted to come over for the evening because we were having company New Year's Day. I can't believe it. She put me on hold. They were all going out to the parade out for supper. Well, and then I thought, my husband goes, isn't that what we wanted? I go, oh, yeah, I know, but not on New Year's Eve. Right? 11, 12 o'clock, close to 12, I'm going to her place to pick her up to bring her home because she wanted to stay for the night because we were having people the next day. Careful what you wish for sometimes, right? Like, jeepers. I just learned to now what plans does she have? And we don't jump in as quick. So I think for us, And we see a lot of people, we work with about 80 people a year, and we're seeing a housing need for many of them, but we're gonna try to be part of the solution. We're hoping that Caldy Grange can be a big one. But I'm working with some people who will need more than Caldy, who will need more direct support. Not, at least someone up there at night, not all during the day, and they can probably, help make their meals, and they can leave and do all that. So the other thing that we do is the skills to pay the bills. And like I mentioned, financial literacy is very, very important to Canadians in general. So we really look at our relation to money. What does that mean? And, so that's a 10-module thing that the people in our housing and employment all are part of. We look at our relationship with money, what a credit card means, what makes us buy, how do we spend our money. At our place of employment, it's funny now, you went to Starbucks to buy that coffee? I can't believe that. You could have saved this and this and this. So now they bring their coffee in, they bring their hot chocolate in. Even if somebody gets a sandwich from Sobeys that's a pre-packaged, you have somebody else that says, but you shouldn't have done that because I bought the loaf of bread and I put the tuna in, it's gonna do me 3 days. So it's part of our conversation all the time. So we all kind of get off track at Christmas, I'm telling you. So now it's getting kind of back on. Even I went to buy hot chocolate at Tim Hortons, the can of it. Someone said, I'll walk over to Sobeys because you can get the $1 cheaper. Okay. So because we have to start talking about money, because it's not just that plastic card anymore. So when we talk about the responsibilities when you start getting a paycheck, and what does that mean? And start paying room and board, or start paying rent, and we start looking at the RDSP, the Registered Disability Savings Plan, and we start looking at that. That's very important too, for people to get on that at that age in your early 20s, because that's good money for your retirement. And we also we participate in Walk 10,000 Steps a Day.
Do you have the little
Yeah,
counters?
yeah, so they do it, and that's all part of conversation too. And I think that's very important. It's interesting, I was just mentioning that the barrier that we have, or the challenge that we have for walking 10,000 steps a day are the parents. Because the parents don't think their sons and daughters should have to walk when they're at work. Because we always have a business meeting, and then we have a break, we go for a walk, and then it's only about 20 minutes to half hour, but it's the parents. I get a lot of flack. Don't you know, Lori, it's too hot, too cold, too windy, too rainy, too slippery? Yes, I do know. But we continue to do it. We continue to do it. We have clothes today, hats and mitts, and we bring them in, and yeah. And the reason why we started the Walk 10,000 Steps a Day, we're finding a pattern of people who did not have the energy to work a 4-hour shift. And we're not talking because of the medication, because medication, yes, that's why we do 2-hour shifts at the beginning, because it's 2 hours for you to be focused. We're not talking about you getting ready to get there. Once you get settled, then your bus ride home, then maybe you're making a snack, for the next day, washing your clothes. And that's why I think I learned that very early in the game, is that people, then they work up to 3 and they work up to 4. And that's when we have workshops too. So they come when people start, like I'm starting a group, I generally have 100% attendance in the workshops. Because I say, I'm going to be here for these workshops, and you're going to be here for these workshops. And this is, even if you decide you don't want to work, make a commitment for 12 weeks, which is 3 months. Because 3 months didn't even go well if you said 3 months, I'd say 12 weeks. Just for 3 months. At the end, if you decide, yes, you want to continue, you may say, I'm not ready for this right now. But at least you gave it a kick at the can. So can you come? Because I'll be here. We have 100% attendance.
So how long are your workshops? Just
2 hours.
Just the 2 hours?
Because how many
Okay,
of us
yeah,
can sit
okay.
for that long of a time, right?
Yeah.
And if I make them longer,
Yeah.
it's,
What are they really going to take in? And
it's too much. Yeah. And sometimes if I do for a walk, it's, it might be 2.5, right? And then we do our walk in between. But I always say that commitment, because and again, and people do it, people follow through. Because if you can't commit to at least 12 weeks, then don't sign up. Let somebody else have that opportunity. Don't sign up. Because we do have a long waiting list.
How long a waiting list do you have?
For our employment, it usually takes probably, for right now, probably 24 weeks to get in. Because I make sure when I do my next workshop, now, it's funny, the workshop we just did was all young people. Now, the one I'm doing now, well, they're young too, I guess, compared to me, but they're all in their late 30s and 40s. This one is all 20, 21. So they're at a different place, so I try to keep it different. Sometimes you blend them. I can remember a couple years ago, it was in the summer. Oh my goodness, the hottest summer I ever had. I didn't want to be there. We all had face cloths, wiping her head or her neck, and I'm thinking, this is the longest. And every single person at the end, there were guys, by the way, said, what do you mean 12 weeks is up? Like, 12 weeks is done? I go, I told you. And I always say that to people. Right now, 12 weeks seems like a long time. But at the end, you're going to say that's not that long. And every single time in 23 years that has said, what do you mean it's done? It's already done. I said, 12 weeks, we're going to do your 12-week assessment. So sometimes when you think, oh, I don't want to commit, Lori, I don't want to do the 12 weeks, I just want a job. No, that's all I want. I'm not.
So what, on average, are most people ready after 12 weeks, or do
No.
they have to just go
They're just
through
getting
whatever
into-
they need?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened the first 12 weeks, they're getting into that routine now. So, okay, if you're going to, so some of them are really looking, we have an action plan, so we know, I'm just trying to think some of the ones I just did this week. It was all around punctuality. That was a big one. Dressing appropriately, manners, follow through, focus. So yeah, they're all working on something. So if they stay, we call it the ladder of success. And then in 20 working days, we review it again. So they themselves see growth. But it's not me saying that you're not work ready. They read the report and they look at it. They look at because we want them to be successful. Because when people leave our store and get a job, that's success for us. For the average business, that's not success when you have continual rollover of staff, but for us it is. Like we have a young man who just started a job, and he was in yesterday, starts his job today, and we're all happy. And then it makes other people more like, oh wow, he got a job. He
Inspires them.
Yeah, but I don't know, but they said, well, Lord, he messes up a lot, and he's bossy, and he got a job. Like, there's hope for me. But it's just taking those steps to move forward, because we want people to be very successful. It takes us longer too, because we want to make sure there's a good job match. If there's not a good job match, it will never work. It will never, ever, ever work. So it's not about taking the first job, it's about one girl was with us for 2 years, and I'm thinking, I don't know what I was going to do. She was having seizures every day. I don't know what I'm going to do for a job. I don't know what I'm going to do, because her pace was very slow. And anyway, she ended up getting a job at a law firm, cleaning, during the day, 1 to 4. And even when she had her interview, she had a seizure. So I thought, okay, this is why it's a perfect match. She gets to dress up every day. Pace is not really, she can just work at a steady pace. They treat her very, very well. They understand that when she has a seizure, she may have to sit down. The person having the interview used to have grand mal seizures when she was a little girl. So she understood. So you had to go through 3 levels of interviews, yes, just to, I don't forget, her title's not cleaner, but it's cleaning out the boardroom, that kind of thing. And she didn't have to go through all that because she knew it was, and she's been there 8 months and loves it. Gets to dress up and wear heels every day. So it was worth it to wait for that job match for her because it suited her. So I think sometimes our job developer, we look at work for people and we have options, but it has to be the right one. It has to be in order for it to be successful. Because there's nothing worse than someone starting a job and then quitting or losing a job and you're starting that journey again. That's not what we want. It's not.
Now, does the job developer have a variety of businesses that they work with?
So what happens, that's a good question, because we have people ask that all the time. Do you have just employers that you go and see? No, because you're an individual, so I'm going to know what you want.
Okay.
And then we go from there. It doesn't mean that we haven't talked to the same employers, but we really try to keep it. So our jobs, I should go back. A lot of the people I work with don't have a university degree, don't have community college. They're looking for the first job, the first entry-level position.
Right.
Just like we all did.
Yeah.
Just like we all did. And even though we sit here, I have parents in a lot of cases say, but I want them to move into a career. Well, I'm sure my mother did too when I was 16. But I think my mother was quite happy I had a job. And learned from it, made mistakes from it. And I made them all, so I know that's why I'm a good trainer. Because I made them all. I always ask people, even the parents when I meet with them, how many people have ever lost their jobs? Nobody raises their hand but me. I lost because I talked too much. I learned. Or they didn't pay me once because I didn't fill out my timesheet correctly. How long do you think that took me to figure that out? 1 week, right? So I made all the mistakes. And people won't accommodate silliness when you go to get a job. And we work with the person's abilities. At work, this is what we talk about a lot, is that we don't talk about disabilities. It's I meet you at the table as a person. And in a lot of cases, our staff, our frontline staff, don't know the diagnosis. In a lot of cases. It has never been an issue all these years. They have help, if there's help, right? But no, because the person will tell me where they need help. The person will tell us what they need. And I learned that early in the game. I remember a girl who came in and she lost 11 jobs. 11 jobs because she has a poor memory. 11 jobs. That's a lot of jobs to lose for your memory.
She's good at getting them.
Yeah, but 11. So then what happened was though, I watched her in the store one day, she asked me what department something went in, and I'm thinking in my head, she has memory, that's her memory. I told her, but I just made a mental note. When I ran her assessment, memory was not ever identified on her assessment, ever. There's 3 other things that were barriers to employment that she had to deal with, and she's working now. Too, but it's interesting. So sometimes if you know, you come in with that preconceived, even though you don't think you do, it's there. But I always find if you build a good relationship with people, and communicate, they tell you where they need support. You see the person first. So that's sort of what we kind of just do on a daily basis, our employment and our housing, and they just go together. We work with around 80 people a year.
Do people ever get part-time jobs, like even 2 3 or 4 hour shifts a week?
You mean outside of our business?
When they're finished with you?
Yeah, that's part, our job developer, yes. So most of the people we work with start at entry, part-time.
Even that?
Well,
3 shifts?
4 shifts, but, well, it could be,
No, 2, or say 2.
it could be, depending on the person. The person who works at the law firm works 3 shifts, right? That's where that person's at. That depends on the person. It depends on what we go, and it's harder to get full-time work now too, it's interesting. Do you notice? They're not hiring full-time anymore, so there's a lot of barriers, not in the community right now for businesses. You know, they don't offer you any, like there's no pensions, there's no benefits. It's a lot of part-time work. It's a lot of part-time work for our young folks that just graduated from university and are entering, entry-level jobs after they have. I mean, interesting, my stepson, he just thought he was going to have the world by the tail because he's smart. And he was diagnosed with anxiety and depression when he graduated in grade 12. So first year university was pretty tough. But he thought he was going to get his degree, environmental engineer. Then he went out west. He took 2 years at community college, and he's doing entry-level research work. Loves it. It's not making big money. And we had this big conversation when he came home at Christmas. I'm thinking, I want this thing so bad. Didn't I tell you that? But I just couldn't, I told you so. I held it back. But he said, he goes, you're right. He said, you have to have a lot of practical to get a job. He said, I thought the smarter you were, and I got my degree, that was for other people, but it's not for me. But he went to community college, and he realized he had to go to community college to get his practical. So he went to community college with a lot of people who didn't have his degree, but had a lot of practical. So he's working with people, he's noticing the people who are moving on are the people who have the practical. Well, he has 0 practical. And so that's what we struggle with him and helping him move on. But I think it's half-beat if he recognizes it. Because 5 years ago, he didn't recognize it. He just thought, the smarter you are. And I always thought, because I'm an average student, who wanted to be an A? You could just be a C and be happy. I was happy. And now he's starting to get that. I'm telling you, I was just like, And of course, the next day he goes, that must have been hard enough to say I told you so. I go, no, I'd never say that. But it's learning.
So a question from online, from Denise. What about a person who is used to working, but because of his new medication, he has no or very little motivation to work, but very much wants to?
Yeah, yeah. So if he already has had a job already in the past, see, we have to go back. I work with somebody who, I'm working with people who have never had a job or been out of the workforce for a long time. So if they're a recent person who has been working, there's other agencies in the city. But that's a tough one. So that's a tough one. That's my friend right now, an occupational therapist. She wants to go to work and can't. Like, I'll visit her tonight when I come home, and she will probably still have her pajamas on. So that's something. So she's working with her doctor right now.
I was going to say, maybe the doctor would be...
The doctor's always involved, yeah.
To look at some
right away.
changes or options.
Yeah. And she has a good team around her, but I bet you I'll go tonight, and she'll still have her pajamas on. And she's struggling with that, that's a tough one, yeah.
Yeah, but there are other agencies available, and if Denise wants to get in touch with Schizophrenia Society office,
Yeah,
we can share some of that information with her.
Yeah.
I'll give her the phone number now.
because it sounds like that person already had a job, already has a job, or had a job, or, yeah, it's a good question too.
Now, if you say you have quite a long waiting list, is it financial reasons to keeping you from expanding this program? Because it sounds.
Well, I think it's like any business, we have a business and we can only train so many people at a time, right? So I think that's part of it, yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to hire more staff
But you need another
to do more
business,
training.
you need another business.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're looking at that, What happens is I find that when you have frontline workers who are our job coaches, you have to be good at everything. You have to be quite flexible. So one of the things we're looking at is the property maintenance business. And I've been kind of holding back a little bit because I know it will mean I will do it. Because right now I clean the apartments. Sometimes people can't do it, right? They're not motivated to do it. They're not well that day. They can't do it. So we have to be very realistic when we when we start businesses. So I'm going to get something I really love, like a furniture painting business.
Well, you know,
I am, don't laugh, seriously, I already have the basement cleaned out, I've got this new fusion paint, and that's what I'm getting into. Everybody works laughing because I'm painting all this stuff, but people are buying it, they're looking at it. So I'm thinking maybe, but property maintenance is probably what we're gonna get into.
yeah, I was thinking this summer, I'd love to have somebody to do some yard work.
Yeah.
You know, especially for seniors, not.
Yeah.
But I mean, to have,
Yeah,
you know, there were a lot of good, you know, manual jobs that I could be there doing the gardening, tell them where, but dig the hole for me, I didn't really,
Yeah.
I've dug enough holes, you know, like, you know, things like that, there'd be a lot of, I think that would be good to get into property maintenance.
I just
and-
looked at this guy, well, I've seen it last summer, you know, some people already do that, and they have all their rakes and their hose and all that, and they got these little contraptions in the back, so I've been pricing them all the last couple of months. It's not real hard, you just put them right in. And then, anyway, so that's probably one of the things that we're gonna be doing. We have to, because we're working with a lot of guys now, and the retail doesn't keep them active physically or mentally active. So we have to look at that. And it's hard when you're doing the do every day, and you're trying to plan your housing, and then you're trying to plan a new business. Right, you have to, because we're only limited staff that we have.
Any other questions
Nope,
online?
that's it from online.
Any other questions here?
So are you under the umbrella of the Nova Scotia Hospital? Is that what you are now?
What happened
You must
is,
introduce yourself before we got here. We were like.
yeah, no, actually, yeah, we, Affirmative Venture is a nonprofit organization that started from the Nova Scotia Hospital with Dr. Norman Greenberg, but we've moved it to the community since then. And so, yeah, we're still connected, we still, you know, work and align with them. We have a nurse that works with us in our housing, and from the CDHA. I'm a CDHA employee, but I've been working in this organization, seconded here, helping people move their lives forward.
Do you go into like connections, Halifax or Dartmouth or Sackville to help clients from these groups?
We, the nurse that I work with is connected to Connections Dartmouth, and that's where I'm at also. And our new house that we're going to, our new Caldy Grange model is hopefully in Sackford, Bedford. That's our goal, to have one out there. That's our next one. Yeah.
So how do people get in one of those houses then? Did you explain that already?
No, well, you'd have to call. You have to call me. But we have no openings right now, unless, but we're gonna be doing
But
that.
it would be good to have a waiting list, and
Yeah,
there's a whole process to go through even,
Yeah.
you know, to see if it would be suitable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, you know, you could be on a wait list.
Yeah.
So what you're looking for, first of all, you have to get the money to buy a house. You have to somehow set that up, is that what you, that for
no,
this?
for these, we rent apartments. For
You
the
rent
Caldy
apartments,
Grange
wow.
right now. My goal is to get into that.
Yeah,
Oh,
But
okay.
no, we rent apartments.
And then you set up a
Oh.
contract with the people and go from there, okay.
Yeah, so we have to be looking.
Sorry, so basically you set up another,
Caldy Grange.
well, when you said about setting something similar to a small options home.
Yeah, that'd be a different model than this.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
but that would be almost like setting up, well, you've got your own company, because it's companies that run these small options homes, so it would be you guys,
We would own
a
it.
company to run them. Well, you do a great job, because
Yeah.
you've got so much experience with it, and with your own daughter, you know what to
Yeah.
do.
That's a little bit different, because that's a little bit more support. That'd be more
Yes.
support than this.
Yes.
That these people that are in, Affirmative House, they're independent, Caldy Grange, they live by themselves, support doesn't stay the night. But I still think there's a clientele that we work with that would need somebody there at night. So just from the few people that I know that we work with already. So that's another model. I'm kind of on the side of my desk thinking, I want to go there. I want to buy housing. I want to see. And then our property maintenance business would be working on these houses, maintaining these houses. So that's where I'm.
True.
I never thought that when I started, housing would be my passion to go towards. But however, I'm not surprised because at my young age, I bought my first house at 17. And I bought it for young girls who got pregnant. Because I was going to save them too, right? I can tell you another story. That didn't work out for me, but at 17 I did that because I seen a need for young people. So, and I have real estate. So my stuff, it's interesting how it kind of went full circle. So I don't find that a big leap for us to go there because I've already done it in a different way with no experience.
I think there's a tremendous waste within the system
Absolutely.
of that. So we could, it could be set up so the government could save money and could manage better, and the people would have better lives.
Yeah.
Because the community is what people need.
We all need.
Yeah,
We all need.
community.
Yes.
Yeah. Where none of us are isolated. I mean, none of us live in our own little
No.
silos. And I always think this is an easy model. You have to be able to be good at matching people.
Yeah.
But I always think too, of the people we work with, all we are is a group of people just working together to try to move our lives forward. We're not, we can't make this more complicated than what it is. And yet we do know, you need good support. But I don't have all the answers. Even when I'm working with some of the guys over at the house, I don't have the answers. They don't have the answers. Their support teams don't have the answers. How do we do this to make it work? And we do. We do. But it's yeah.
And the Caldy Grange model is if you've got 3 people together, then they pool their income assistance of 520 times 3. So you get
So you can
You
get
can
a
get
better
good
quality
a better quality
apartment. So
apartment.
it's a matter of partnering with different landlords and.
Yeah.
That's easy now. If each person can bring $535 to the table,
Yeah.
you're looking at
nice
good apartments.
Yeah.
Rather than 535 on Cottage Street.
Well, the rents are just, oh my goodness. I just look at some of them. Like the other day, I was driving by $695 for a bachelor.
You go to Washington on the Hill up here and see what you pay for something up there, and a lot of the things on the hill, anywhere $1,200 to $1,700 a month now.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. I'll come over here. I actually remembered my thank you card. Thank you so much,
Oh,
Lori.
thanks, Dawn. Now I'm doing-
Your culture was excellent, so thank you very much.
I want you guys to look on the web to see what we do. We have a young fellow we just hired. Well, he lives in our building. He graduated from community college. He has started his own website company. So I hope the website's up. That's my point. He's working on it.
Okay, we're going to close the online portion and we'll take a little break. So I'd like to thank everyone who was online and we'll see you the second, I wrote the date down, February, I think it's February 8th.
February 8th, yep.
Okay, so we'll be back February the 8th, topic to be announced. So I'll get that flyer out hopefully next week, in the next couple of weeks. So, thank you very much. And we're going to take a little break, just have some water and just chat among ourselves. We'll get some more new faces here.
Is anybody here from Dartmouth side? probably
Oh,
know.
me.
Well, I know you, but, so you are. So, do you know where our store is? So the